Hello, I'm Mark Baer. I'm your host of the YourTown television program. I'm with Peggy Stap, founding director, Marine Life Studies, and the Whale Entanglement team. So glad you're here.
Oh, well, thank you, Mark, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I just wanted you to know that, as YourTown comes back on the air, one of the areas that we want to give a lot of attention to is the marine sciences, the oceanic part of where we live, and we're on the cutting edge of ocean sciences here, and it's a big part of our community.
It is.
So let's start with the Marine Life Studies, and what is it?
Well, Marine Life Studies, we started it back in 2006. It's a nonprofit, and we're a volunteer organization. Just this last year, we got a grant to have one part-time staff contracted, which is great for being in the area for that many years. But we do all sorts of education programs, conservation programs, education programs, including our research scientist program, whale entanglement team, our ocean literacy series, and our Take It to the Streets.
You go out on the whale boat and you entangle. So let's talk about whale entanglement.
Okay, yeah. Well, our research scientist program, whale entanglement team, we have a boat we call our whale rescue research vessel, and that's basically our fast response vessel. So if there's an entanglement, we can be first on scene and stay with the whale, analyze it, maybe attach the telemetry buoy. It depends on each entanglement. But the research scientist program allows us to train people for our whale entanglement team because we do have a federal permit. So we're working with a lot of the same equipment for assessing an entanglement that we use for researching a whale out on Monterey Bay or a dolphin. So people get used to the equipment, so when we have a response, it's a great way to have people already trained.
How do you know when a whale's been entangled?
Well, usually we get a call. We have our 877 SOS whale number on our Marine Mammal Guide. They can call it into the Coast Guard or to that. In fact, this guide has increased the number of entanglements reported, plus people now know there's a team that'll respond. Because years ago, there was no formalized team here. So we started it back in 2006.
So are these fishermen calling you, or I mean, where are these calls?
Yeah, fishermen, private boaters, commercial fishermen, whale watch, all sorts of people. The Coast Guard will call if they might see one.
And then how often does this happen?
Well, it's really increased from 2000 to about 2013. For the whole state of California, there might be 10, and there was 6 in Northern California. Then in 2014, we had, I think it was 17 in all of California, and we had 10 right here in the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. And then in 15, it really jumped to where just in the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, we had 21. Last year, we had 23 confirmed. A lot more for the state, but just if you're talking about our town in this area, that's a lot. And we were able to respond, I think it was to 17 or 18 last year. That's 17, I think it was, total. Because sometimes they're way offshore, no one's standing by, or the weather's so bad we can't get out.
So I'm just trying to get my head around this, because it's throwing out numbers and all this is one thing. But you're actually going out into the ocean on a boat and untangling a whale.
Right. Well,
and how does this work, and how do you learn to do this, and who does this?
Well, that's why we have trainings, and I'm not the one that's in the little boat doing the cutting. That's not. There's different levels, and a level 4 is the one that will be doing the cutting, or level 3 under their direction, and I'm a level 3. That allows me to attach a telemetry buoy, do all the assessment. That kind of thing, because we have to have all the assessment before we go in and cut a line, because you can't just start hacking away, because you might cut a line over here and the worst part of the entanglement's still on the whale. So it's very methodical, and we just don't rush in there. We really look at everything.
You have to come in with a plan.
Right. We have to come in and plan, but we have to have the assessment first, which is like video above and below, still shots, and then we have a conference with other NOAA folks, because we are working under a special permit under NOAA in order to disentangle a whale.
Explain to people what NOAA is.
NOAA is the National Oceanic Atmosphere Association.
Okay.
And they're out, they're out east, but they have NOAA office all over. We have a NOAA office here.
Yes.
We work with the one in Southwest Fisheries in Long Beach, and Justin Visbicki is the head for the state for disentanglement.
I mean, this is like kind of going out and doing surgery. So
right, exactly. Right, yeah, and you don't want to harm the whale. You know, you don't want to do something that's going to hurt the whale, and you have to be very careful and methodical, because you don't want the whale nor the rescuers being hurt. And everything's done from a small boat. We never get in the water with the whales.
And I mean, this is a really interesting relationship with a big living mammal. Are they kind of aware of what you're trying to do, or what's emotionally what's going on during this?
Well, we get that asked a lot. You know, sometimes I think they understand what we're doing, but I mean, we had a whale that was caught on spot prawn traps. There was 25 traps with 2 mud anchors, and it was anchored to the floor through its mouth. Well, we tried to cut that line, and when we did, it put pressure on its mouth. It just threw its tail, so it was not happy. None of the whales we've disentangled have come back to thank us at all. They've all like, I'm out of here, you know, I just want to be free. So, and that's our main job. So, you know, we hope they think we're helping them. And sometimes they're just so exhausted, they don't react hardly at all because of that. You know, they might have been entangled for quite some time.
Wow.
And sometimes they are, because like one we did in 2014 in the spring was actually, the traps were attached somewhere up in Northern California near the Oregon border, and it came all the way down with a crab trap with 3 crabs in it. We were able to get the crab trap off, but the weather got bad. We had the telemetry buoy on, but it went down south to Santa Barbara, so we drove down there with we have Wet on Wheels whale entanglement team in a trailer, all the stuff to disentangle whale, and we finished the job 14 days later in
Wow. So what's causing all the entanglement?
Well, a lot of it, the last couple of years, 14, 15, and last year, we've had so many more whales. I think it was in 15 when I came out of the harbor in January, there were so many humpback whales here still feeding, which that crossed over with the crab pot fisheries, which wasn't usually the case. Usually the whales had left here. They weren't here feeding. But if they're not going to go down to like off Mexico or Belize to mate or have their young, there's no reason for them to leave. So that's a lot of it. The crab fishery task force has been working really closely with NOAA and others in our network in order to mitigate that problem. They don't want the whales entangled any more than we do. So they did a best practices this last year where they tightened up the amount of line going from the crab pot to the surface to that main buoy, and then they shortened the trailer buoy line too. And that seems to been working so far, but we haven't had a lot of whales in the area. And I talked to fishermen last week, and they said more of the crab pot fishing has been going more up north, because we haven't seen as many crab pot buoys out in Monterey Bay the last month or so.
So what can before we move on, what can the public do to help? What are your needs? What are your needs?
Oh, we have lots of needs. One is money for fuel, because it's very expensive to run the boat out during an entanglement. It uses a lot of fuel. We still need a couple more GoPro cameras. We're really in need of another laptop computer. The beauty of this 40-foot boat is we have electricity, so we can download the photos. We use my phone as a hotspot. We can send off images and stuff to NOAA during an entanglement, so that everything's on scene, where before we'd have to go back on shore, look at it, make a plan for the next day. So this year we've actually we did one entanglement one day, one entanglement in 2 days, where sometimes it would take 3-4 days, maybe 2 weeks.
Let's, before we move on, give me a website so if people want to contact you.
Right, you can go to whaleentanglementteam.org, and you can hit donate, and it'll go right to our whale rescue research vessel and wet tools that we need. Also, you can just go to marinelifestudies.org and hit donate. So we do need equipment, like we have to buy new tools, because sometimes tools get damaged or lost. So during a disentanglement, like we're on I think it's our 3rd telemetry buoy, and they're like almost $7,000.
Wow.
So, but luckily we have one, and the sanctuary has one. So we have 2 for Monterey Bay now, where we used to only have 1.
Let's talk about ocean literacy.
Oh, sure, yeah. That's so important to educate not only the children in the area, but also adults. And Whale Fest is every January, so that's a great way to educate the community on all different issues. There's a lot of nonprofits, but we have our own ocean literacy series where we go in at different schools, but primarily the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
We're a community partner with them, have been since 2010. So we go in each unit, Salinas and Seaside, teach them about whales and dolphins, and then have classroom activities and hands-on type feeding demonstrations, how long a blue whale is. They would stretch this rope out. They're just in awe, because when they're in the water, you can't tell how big they are. You know, you don't have anything to compare it to. And then we take them whale watching. And some of those kids have never been even to Monterey Bay, even in Seaside and Salinas, let alone out on a boat. So they're so excited. And we have a special graduation ceremony after lunch, after the whale watch, and give them a completion of certificate that really empowers them, and they have all sorts of hands-on things they take with them, and it's one of the favorite things at the Boys and Girls Club. Plus, we do our Take It to the Streets where we...
Well, let's talk about Take It to the Streets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we also, at the Boys and Girls Club, teach them about pollution solutions, things they can do in their everyday life to, you know, not use so much plastic, because that plastic is just horrific for our oceans. And then we take them out and they pick up trash, document it, weigh it, and we have contests, and they love that. But we also do Take It to the Streets in the community. We used to do it once a week for the whole year, and then we've cut back from that because that was a lot. But there's other organizations like Save Our Shores and Surfrider that do the beaches, so we go inland and do malls or different parks or street areas that we get reported to that have a lot of trash. The Monterey High School, they were doing it there. We had one of the students heading it there. We also do it inland. We've had, you know, some of our interns have taken it back to their states like Colorado or Michigan, and one intern even took it back to Ireland and picked up trash.
Wow! So you can see it you can see it grow and build and
right.
So part of what this show is a local focus, but also where we are, Monterey Peninsula in the world, and how do you, where are we in terms of oceanic research and as part of on the leading edge of this science? And I think we're in a special place.
Well, we are, because you have the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute is worldwide. Moss Landing Marine Lab does a lot of research. There's a lot of smaller organizations that are doing research. You have the local MATE program through MPC. You have Ms. down here in downtown that does a lot of different types of aspects of ocean-related type surveys and studies.
The Middlebury Institute.
Right, Middlebury Institute.
Yes.
Yeah, they changed the name, so I always forget what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's just, you know, you have UC Santa Cruz, Long Marine Lab. There's a lot of entities all around the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary that people are working on different aspects. You have fishermen, you know, they're even growing abalone and things of that nature and kelp for research and to study, and where they can, you know, maybe harvest this, or even growing algae for restaurants. I mean, it's just huge, all the different entities. I don't even know them all because there's so many, but it's pretty amazing, and we are cutting edge, and we're known as the whale watching capital of the world because we have so many different varieties and species of marine life out here. It's amazing, and you can see them year round, some at different times of the year, but you can see whales and dolphins year round here.
So something that I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not true, but it's amazing. So we have the trench out here.
Right.
And I've heard that when certain whales migrate, they have to stop at one side of the trench, and they rest there before they make the journey across it.
Well, there's some people think like gray whales sometimes will stop, but a lot of times if the mothers have a calf with them, they'll go way inshore because they don't want to cross that trench.
Well,
yeah.
So it boggles my mind because I think water's water, so how deep it is doesn't matter. But why do they stop?
Well, I'm not sure why the gray whales stop. They may stop just to kind of get an idea of the area, because especially if they have calves with them, because killer whales come in and attack and kill their calves.
Also, maybe because it's so deep they can't sound the same. Is that something to it? I mean, I'm
I've
trying
seen,
to understand
I've
this.
seen them in all depths of water, so I've heard that about gray whales kind of being kind of little circling in an area near the edge of the canyon. I haven't seen that myself, but doesn't mean it doesn't happen. There's so much we just don't know, and the reason why, I don't know if we really know why, but so much more studying is going on. But I've seen humpback whales in like 40 feet of water and in a few thousand feet, a mile worth of water. So, but the canyon bisects the bay right into Moss Landing within a mile. So that's why we get so many different types of species, because of the upwelling, and a lot of the food gets trapped along the canyon edge. So oftentimes you'll see them right on the shelf or just over the canyon edge.
Oh, so maybe they're stopping to feed there because it's a good feed
Right,
place.
right. In some cases, yeah, but they do cross.
But isn't it astounding how much we don't know?
Oh yeah, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. So, but that's the fascinating thing about being in marine research.
So I just, in our last few minutes, I want to understand how somebody from Michigan ends up being into this.
Oh yeah, well, that could be a whole show. But the short version is, I went to Maui with my mom and stepdad, saw a humpback whale
In Maui.
Yeah, in Maui.
Yeah.
My husband wouldn't fly over the water. I came home, I said, I want to move to Maui and do whale research, and he just shook his head. But my best friend from Michigan moved here and told me about Oceanic Society's whale and dolphin research trip. So I went on that, and I loved it. So I started doing research in Maui with the Hawaii Whale Research Foundation, and then I worked with Oceanic Society's whale and dolphin research trips here. Then my director in Maui said, why don't you just get a permit for Monterey Bay? And he mentored me, and I got it in 2006 and started marine life studies under his umbrella, and then we went out on our own after that.
So you just found your calling.
Yeah, I designed and planted flower beds. I owned greenhouses. You know, I was self-employed, so I sold all that. My husband owned a landscape company, so I was a motivated seller. Just sold my buildings and my plant material, bought a camera equipment, and started volunteering. And I still volunteer. I volunteer as executive director and run marine life studies. So yeah, it's.
I mean, that's a little kooky.
Yeah, I know. But luckily, I had a wonderful husband that was very supportive, and you know, we've both been working, you know, all ours. But I didn't see a whale till I was 41 years old. It changed my whole life. It was amazing, and I still love it.
Yeah, it is astounding, and I'm going to. Part of the perks of doing this is I am going to go out on the boat with you because I'm.
Yes, you'll have to come out and see. You can even bring a camera.
I want to see this and
see what we do.
Yeah, we live in a pretty spectacular place.
We do, and we take anyone from any walk of life that wants to volunteer, because I even bring teachers in from the Midwest, because the more they see and are on the ocean, they make better choices in the Midwest. Sometimes they don't think what they do affects the ocean, but it does. But we've inspired a lot of people to go back to college to pursue a degree in marine science or marine biology. So, you know, it's something they can do. It doesn't cost them money. They just have to work. But
are you seeing, you know, in all your efforts, are you seeing progress? Are you optimistic?
Yeah, I am optimistic. There's so many different organizations that are really fighting hard for our oceans. You know, we just got to keep doing that, and together. So I feel hopeful. Reports of entangled whales have significantly increased off the coast of California. As you can see, they are pretty devastating. These gentle giants are suffering from life-threatening entanglements. These entanglements can lead to a slow and painful death, as seen in these photos with the line wrapped around the tail area and the line through its mouth, near its eye, as the whale gazes at us. But there's hope! Working under a special federal permit with the Marine Mammal Health and Stranding Response Program, we have a trained team that gives whales another chance at life, always working from small boats, never getting in the water with the whales, as it is too dangerous for the whale and the rescuers. By using tools specially designed to disentangle whales, along with proven methods, we are able to free whales in distress. WET plays a pivotal role in saving these whales.
Did you free it?
Yes!
Woo! WET is saving whales one at a time. You can help save whales. Please donate at whaleentanglementteam.org. Thank you so much for your support.
Okay, I'm Mark Baer. I'm with Peggy Stap. This is the beginning of an ongoing conversation, and like I said, there's just so much to talk about this, and I want to use this show to be talking about it. You're watching YourTown Television. I'm Mark Baer, and we'll be back.
Thank you, Mark.